had a name. Mye was suddenly sorry that the girl would not have green eyes like her dead mother. If he had thought about this for another moment, he might have regretted spending so much time among his books, writing of the fates of nations, while those green eyes were still open. However, he very sensibly caught himself in time and decided to think about something else. But what would he do now that his sight was weakening? He had always thought that in years to come dear Jessamine would help him with his papers. Those wide, pepper-speckled eyes, watching from the wall. What a pity the child was a girl, and not a boy to be schooled. Well, you will have to do. If you had died along with your mother, I would have taught the cat to read. Mye felt a brief qualm at the idea of turning his daughter into a freak by teaching her letters, but it could not be helped. The baby watched as he stooped over his manuscript once more and picked up the quill. The study was so quiet and lonely, snug and sealed like a ship's cabin against the rain-blasted world. Once, while he still lived in the city of Mandelion, Mye had longed for such quiet, an escape from the distractions of horse clatter and hawker cry. His exile to the remote village of Chuff had left him weary of stillness and the dismal, eternal trickle of water outside his window. Mye laid down his quill again. He had no idea how to speak to a baby. He had no stories for children, and he was embarrassed by the fact that just for once he wanted, or rather needed, to talk. Well, I suppose if you were to be of any use to me, then I had better start putting sense into your head before foolishness can blot the page. Mye searched his pipe bowl for inspiration, and then thoughtfully fingered the dry weave of his manuscript. In it, he had tried to make sense of the last 30 years of the realm's history. It was hardly a bedtime story for a child. But perhaps, told another way, perhaps we had better start with a story. Once, in a day that some still remember, there was a king who spent a lot of time devising beautiful gardens and thinking clever thoughts about the stars. He meant very well and ruled very badly, and in the end they cut off his head and melted down his crown to make coins. The Parliament ruled the country after that, and all the people who still thought there should be a king went into hiding, or retreated to the hills, or fled to other countries. The Parliament's leader ruled very like a king, but no one called him a king, because names are important. Mosca, the newly named housefly, offered no comment. The dead king had a son, whom loyal servants rescued and carried abroad. The boy prince travelled afar and became a man-prince. He spoke with other kings, some of whom promised to help him win back his throne. He learned the etiquette of court and found out which princesses were worthy to be his queen. And then, while he was visiting a far-distant king in a land of burning sands, his camel unexpectedly bit off his nose. The prince took a fever and died the next day, through surprise as much as anything else. Those who thought there should be a king or queen now argued among themselves. Some thought the old king's daughter should rule, some his sister, some his cousin's son. 20 years passed in this way, and the Parliament fell out with one another as well. They were too busy squabbling to notice their power being stolen away by a clever new enemy. Mye hesitated. Like everyone else who had lived through that time, he carried his share of terrible memories, and once again